Trump administration is asking the Supreme Court to allow the firing of the head of the federal agency dedicated to protecting whistleblowers. A lower court had previously blocked the move. Let's bring in CBS News Department of Justice reporter Jake Rosen to talk more about this. So, Jake, what is the Office of the Special Counsel for our viewers to understand, and why is the administration targeting it?
Well, this is not like the special counsels that we've heard for the last 2 years who investigated President Donald Trump. This is a different office that's more permanent at the in the government, which basically oversees the potentially illegal firings of workers and protects them and protects whistleblowers, and also enforces Hatch Act violations if someone were to make political speech while they're in their official capacity for office. You can see why the Trump administration would want to get rid of someone like this, who especially was appointed under President Biden, because of the quick pace that you and Willie just discussed of firing federal workers and clearing out entire departments of the government if Elon Musk gets his way after some of these court decisions are played out. But this person, Hampton Dellinger, has sued to get his job back. He is currently back in the post, and the Trump administration has listened so far to the judge. However, we'll see what the Supreme Court decides in terms of what potential presidential and executive branch power Donald Trump can use to fire some of these independent workers.
This is going to be pretty huge, because this is going to let us know what kind of power Trump has, and if setting up that Supreme Court the way he did is going to come and pay dividends right now. And I believe it will. I believe the Supreme Court will side with Trump in this kind of stuff. He set it up properly this time. It's going to be a little more difficult than it was before for them to keep running to the courts. In fact, they'll start running away from the courts if he continues to win. Shutting down whistleblowing agencies and this kind of shit, and people who are deeply rooted in the government and do lean to the Democrats, or who are deeply rooted in the government and lean to the Republicans, yeah, they need to get them out. Every administration, motherfuckers should not have 30-year jobs and all they do is sit there and tell on people and get people in trouble and have a heavy bias, but they're looked at, by the general American public as neutral. They're not neutral. They got a fucking dog in the fight. And Trump has identified this shit because in his first administration, a lot of shit was being told on him and charges and investigations. And he's like, nah, we're not going to have this no more. But he is relieving himself of that bullshit so he can move forward with his agenda. Whether we agree with it or not, I understand why anyone would not want a complete shadow government like watching them. You're the president, but you really got minions and folks underneath you who aren't looking out for your agenda and who aren't pulling the rope in the same direction. I want to get rid of them. It makes perfect sense to me.
As you know, Senator Jamie Raskin, Jake, has said that the Department of Justice made a deeply corrupt bargain in its decision to drop charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. I want to play a little bit of what he said on Face the Nation yesterday.
This is an outrageous violation of the rules of prosecutors and an offense against due process, and a very dangerous first move for the Department of Justice.
It's really not that goddamn bad. For Trump to ask a mayor to participate in getting illegal immigrants out of his city, which is in accordance with the law and the Constitution, by the way, they act like it's illegal. It's not. To deport people out of the country is legal. It's perfectly fucking legal. So he should be working with Trump. He should be working with Trump's people because they're asking him to obey the law and in exchange get charges dropped against you that were put up against you politically by the Democrats. He's supposed to suck that up and just get prosecuted. That ain't the way it works. And remember, this is an indictment. These are charges. He wasn't prosecuted. He wasn't convicted. Like Hunter. Hunter was prosecuted and convicted and then pardoned. That's the conversation we need to be having, not because it's the mayor of New York, because a human being is allowed relief by a president, and he's being allowed relief by Trump, and Hunter was getting provided relief by his dad. What's the fucking difference? I don't see it. I don't think that Biden's pardons at the end were the best thing for him to be doing, but he did it, and they're not harping on that. They let it go. We need to get this shit together in this country because the Democrats have so much support under the belief that they're the higher moral ground, and they're not. People really believe if they're a Democrat, they are better hearted people than the Republicans. And it's such an illusion. It's a very old illusion. It's something that's wearing out, and people are kind of waking up and seeing through it. And some aren't. How in the hell can you not see the illusion that the Democratic Party has created for us? To believe, oh, the Republicans are just, they're the same as the Democrats. It's the people that make up this country. You can change parties on your own. You're not born a Democrat and you're not born a Republican. You can be any of those things you want. What you are born is who you really are. That other stuff can be, I guess, pounded into you, through propaganda and speech and political campaigns.
To be making people.
So, Jake, what are you hearing at the DOJ about these resignations that this decision prompted here in New York, for example, at the Southern District?
Well, morale was already low when Donald Trump came in, and new Attorney General Pam Bondi announced she was going to conduct a weaponization investigation basically across the government to go out.
Morale was low when Trump came in. Morale had to be low prior to Trump arriving because he's only been there a month. And morale just because of what? He didn't even do anything except some changes at the top that need to be made. Some people on the lower level may keep their jobs and some departments may be eliminated completely. That shit makes sense to me. It makes complete sense. If you went through it with a finer tooth comb, you'd see a lot of congressmen and members of our government who have their friends in the State Department and getting these wonderful jobs where they get to go live in Tahiti and places like that or visit regularly for free. That shit need to go away. Our money does need to be spent differently. We need to be doing different stuff. It's Black History Month, and all we can do is stories on Black history and our contributions to the country. Like one day they're going to get it. Like one Black History Month, they're going to listen to us differently than they did all the other Black History Months prior to that. They're not. The Democrats have a wing of the Democratic Party who is there to control us. And that is our Congressional Black Caucus and Black Congress folks. And they're just there to control us and keep us fucking quiet. And because everybody else in this country is being addressed, except Black people. We have already been addressed. They are done with us. We aren't going nowhere fast. And we're the only people who apparently don't notice it. Even our representatives, even the people who claim to like us, they're lying to us. They know damn well that the United States government is done with Black people. They just wanted to get that eyesore off that international scale, the civil rights and turning water hoses and dogs on people. And somehow all the police brutality in the United States is looked at as deserving, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be happening. You have to be killing people and turning dogs on them and applying the law differently to them than you do other members of society for racist reasons and getting away with it and making it palatable. And to us, it's palatable to us. We should be the ones who are blowing the whistle like, yo, this is some bullshit. This ain't the way life is supposed to be. But we accept it. And amongst ourselves, well, he shouldn't break the law and he shouldn't break the law. You know what? No one should break the law. But once the law is broken, how it's applied to you should be universal. There's no way a Black person should feel a different level of pressure than a white person or any other person. That's all I'm saying. And as long as the United States can dance this dance, they'll never do anything for us. Either party. Isn't it a coincidence that when the Republicans are in office, the Democrats seem to fight harder? But then when the Democrats are in office, they kind of sit on their hands and chill because they ain't there, that they like the way things are. Have you ever been at a job and when you come into work, if you relieve another person, everything's like going really good, everything's smooth, and you're like, cool, you're a good shift, you check in, and then things start happening, and by the end of your shift, you're pulling your hair out. Oh, fuck, that's the worst shift I ever had. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's like going from back and forth from Republican to Democrats, and the Democrats are more into the chill. They have tamed the fucking beast. They have participated in shutting black people down and making it look humane and still being our ally. I mean, that's quite a feat to be able to shut the fuck this group of people up, not do anything for them, and make them your closest friends so you can keep an eye on them. The best thing we could do, and I'm beginning more and more, and I've been thinking this way for quite a while, that reparations may not be our answer. I believe that anything that they can give us, they can take away. And I just feel we need to dig a little deeper than reparations and figure it out for ourselves and develop it for ourselves and build it. And then it can't be taken away by them. I mean, other than just like they were doing with total destruction of our towns and our economies and our businesses. But you know what? If that's how they rolling, we got to still continue. We can't just lay down and die. Slavery didn't make us lay down and die. Neither can sabotaging our futures, because that's what they are doing. And with our help, with our own Congress people going out there and reintroducing, I think just a couple of days ago, had a little circle of them around a mic, reintroducing the old 40 Acres and a Mule Act, or whatever the fuck they call it, trying to get that study taken care of. What study? Why would you need a study about slavery before you can? Because you have no intention on paying. And ever, never, ever. And any black person who is a part of authoring that bill, I don't know. I know the time was definitely not current. We need to move on. That shit ain't worked in 10 years, 8 years, 2 terms, 2 cycles. We need to move on, abandon it, and find something that's catchy, something that's gonna pick, that they're gonna agree with, because we are losing by just staying stuck and keep doing the same thing. They look at that shit. Do you know how many people in the House vote yes on the HR 40 just for aesthetics? Because they know it ain't going nowhere. It's even gotten out of the House a couple of times. And when it gets to the Senate, where do you think it's going? So it's a game. And whenever we pull it out and reintroduce it, we just do it to show the Republicans are racist. They're not going to pass H.R. 40. It's never going to go anywhere with the Republicans. And well, it never goes anywhere with the Democrats in place either. When have we introduced H.R. 40 under a Democratic president? We even had an opportunity with Obama, kind of what Trump's going through. He had the majority in the House and the majority in the Senate, and a majority on the Supreme Court. That would have been a wonderful opportunity for Obama to do the right thing. If your country isn't ready for reparations or taking care of people that it has oppressed and is currently oppressing, then these people are still in slavery. You haven't released them. You haven't allowed them to flourish and move upward and change their position. If they were slaves and in 2024 they're still on the bottom in every major way, they're still slaves. They haven't moved anywhere, basically. And they can doll it up. They can sprinkle sugar on it. They could do a whole lot of shit. But it's still slavery. And when you don't have control of your destiny, when you don't have control of your mobility economically and where you go, and you notice that everybody else in this country owns businesses and lives their lives differently without so much surveillance, they're on us. Black men, once you've been arrested, once you've been fingerprinted, once you've had mug shots and shit taken, you are permanently in that yearbook, that category, or whatever the hell they want to call it. But they have you. And it's a way to always bring back your past, whether you broke the law, why you broke the law. None of that shit is important. But they have you tagged. But yet they're willing to let millions of illegal immigrants in untagged without any jurisdiction, knowing who came into your country, but not us. Citizens of the United States, they're tagging us like cattle, putting tags on our ears and shit so they know where we are, where we moved to. They keep tight records on us. And I used to think, man, why do they keep us involved in the census and all that kind of stuff? Because they keep tight records on us. They want to know when we grow, when we shrink, if we do make little bumps up financially. They keep a close hand on the pulse of Black America. We can't do anything independent of them. We come up with genres of music and they control it. We give them the product and they manage it. We cannot do anything on our own because they won't allow us to, because that is true freedom. And that's what we need to fight harder for, more than reparations or any of that, because reparations is something that's tied to the government, and the government has already put its stamp on us. Stick a fork in the blacks, they're done, as far as the government is concerned. But our story isn't done until we say it's done. And I ain't saying it's done. I'm saying we need to evolve. We need to grab these politicians and smack them around a little bit and wake them up. Wake up. We're not rolling that way no more. And you're going to be like left with no support. You absolutely have to understand, if you're a rapper and you rap about hanging out in the hood and being a part of gang affiliations and activity and prison life and whatever it is that gives your records that credibility, the authenticity that is required to be a rap artist in this life. Black people are the same way in politics, in sports, in anything. I don't give a damn if you're the best basketball player in the world. Black people don't like you, you lose some credibility. You lose something. If you're black and black people support you, that puts you in another place financially, economically, and credibility wise. You can sell shit for them to your people. You are some use to them. But if you have no credibility with your people, and we keep lending our credibility to these people, these politicians, these rappers, if you're a rapper and you can't even manage your own fucking career, you know what I mean? We got a Jay-Z and a Puff. I think Jermaine Dupri down south was producing. You know, the producers and who had gotten into the industry a little more than just artists and made some money. To go near $1 billion as a rapper, imagine if we managed, distributed, and did all those other things. There is no reason why a black group of people couldn't do distribution for music, couldn't do distribution for movies, couldn't do more. We get a Tyler Perry who's kind of, cubby holed in a certain type of movie that he does. Everybody who's black don't like Tyler Perry movies like everybody who's black like Tyler Perry movies. We need variety. We are the ones who are the most sought after actors and for TV commercials, but we don't know our worth. We don't leverage anything. We go in there and some kid who they got 1 million kids like that kid will make more money than a kid who's like one of a kind. One little black kid who's just something about that goddamn kid, probably because of the different amount of races he's mixed with, or his little personality, or his smile, or whatever the fuck it is. But you just find 1 million of these kids that you could get, and you pay that kid way more money than you pay that special one. Because if you pay that one that's special what he's really worth, he'll realize he's special. If you pay us what we're worth, we'll realize what we're worth. So they don't, and we allow it. The people who think they're smarter than us in business, in education, in every way, they're the ones who make it harder on us, because if they can, flip the script on our higher up blacks in politics and business and the media, and if they can trick them, then it just trickles. We look at these people like, wow, any black person in the United States of America, I don't care what your field is. Can you imagine Muhammad Ali or Floyd Mayweather and Sugar Ray Leonard with the boxing skill that they have? I mean, and there's countless numbers of boxers. Just the skill levels that they had. If they were white, how they would have been embraced and supported economically and been way more richer than, they were, because they were white and they weren't as talented. Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, as rich, as famous, and as loved as they were, the color of their skin still restricted how far and where they could have really gone with that kind of talent. And that's a fact. And it's a sad thing, because our rappers would rather get up there and just denigrate our race on a live stage at a concert or on a record, on a recording, than put some hard beats down and rap socially, consciously aware, and people in other countries will hear our story as opposed to hearing, you know, bitches, hoes, and sucking and all that shit on a repeated, you know, again and again, just pounded into your head. We absolutely, I'm shit. This is the closest thing that I have to just trying to put it out in a way where you could see it and look at it in a different way than we normally do. Because we normally look at it in the way that they're giving it to us. They're trying to tell you it's okay to keep fighting. It's not okay to keep fighting. We got to win some. Your parents, anyone who cares about you is not going to keep sending you out of the house to keep getting your ass kicked without some adjustments. They're going to, you know, keep that hand up, duck, shit, run. You got to figure some shit out to do better than you did the last time. But for somebody to just keep sending you back into that fight, but not arming you with anything that's going to get you further into that fight and closer to winning and a victory, they're not trying for you to win. They're just trying for you to keep running in place, because their job is whatever it is that we're not doing to help ourselves. That's what they're here for. And we got to know it. You got to see it. They do little things that some black people qualify for. Oh, they relieve the student loans. And some black people are just ecstatic over that because they treat us so fucked up over the years. You think that's a big deal. We shouldn't even be paying for education in this country as black people. For a country on its books, and especially the same government that we currently still subscribe to make it illegal for us to read or write, whether we were slaves or free or whatever, at any point in our existence in this country, if we were not allowed to read, it's illegal to read. Let that sink in. Okay, that's some shit right there. So it's illegal to read, and they don't think that we're going to be at a disadvantage now, 160 years out of slavery, and they don't see the disadvantage. When we weren't allowed to go to schools, we weren't allowed to go to universities. So what did we do? We opened our own schools. We opened our own universities. And now we allow everybody to go to our universities and any schools that we have, which ain't very many of them. But why would you do that? Why would you make an opportunity for your people to independently progress, and then open up the back door to something that could potentially harm what you built? They built their educational institutions and they didn't want us in them for whatever reason. But we continue to try to integrate where we're not wanted to be integrated. You shouldn't want to be served by someone who hates you. No one should be. You shouldn't want to be a part of the Democratic Party, and they genuinely don't want us. They just want our vote. That's it. After they did that thing back there in 1964, the Voting Rights Act, everybody lost their mind. Like, oh, they really do love us. They really do. They really don't. They really don't. And all this fighting that's going on with Trump, they're going to use us like they never used us before, because they got to tie us to race. They got to tie us to racism. They have to make it look like Trump is doing this because he don't like black people, because that'll get the fight going in us. And we ain't falling for this shit. We shouldn't be. I don't give a fuck. We need to sit this one out, you guys. What Trump is doing is teaching the Democrats a lesson. Trump is sitting in a place that Obama was sitting in. The majority on the Supreme Court, as I once said, Congress, and the executive branch. What was he waiting on? LGBTQ rights. Out of all the things in the world that Obama could have pushed through Congress and got changed, and then he went for his Obamacare, which helped the medical industry and not the people who need medical care. It helped the conglomerates in the medical industry, the pharmaceutical companies. Why in the world, with the amount of money that this country has, and with the amount of money that we send out abroad to countries like Israel that has 100% paid health care? Nobody in Israel pays for health care. It's taken care of by the government. And we supplement them in any way? That should have been Obamacare, free health care. You can't argue, you can't fight with that. But if someone like Trump comes along and takes our medical system and makes it where we can afford pay whatever the rates are, then that's cool too. Who gives a fuck if we can afford it? The thing we complain about is that we can't afford it. We usually are in a situation economically where our health care determines the amount of health care we get. You know, if you ain't got no money in your health care, you ain't about to get too much out of it. You got to have money in order. If you go in there and you take the government's dime, do you really feel like they're going to fight for you and fight for your life as much as they would as somebody who is actually paying for their health care? I don't think so. The other might be true. I just don't feel that way. I'd rather be in a situation to be able to pay for my health care as opposed to relying on the government. The government be fucking up a lot of shit, and we continue to cling to them because we were their slaves. We don't know any better. We continue to reset to default, to naturally want to be near them. And their default is to naturally want to have jurisdiction over us. And it's been a perfect little marriage since we got here, and physically allowing us to walk out those gates didn't free us. That's where we need to get to, the real actual freeing of us. Black History Month may need to be reworked. The historic part of it is so important. But when you have a party that you cling to and that you fight for and that you believe you're a part of, and all they can do is tell you what the Republicans are doing to screw up your life. Like in Florida, DeSantis over there limiting what curriculum can be taught. And if it's, you know, shameful or embarrassing to white kids, he wants that shit out of the books. Well, what are the Democrats doing? The Democrats are just wanting us to see that. They don't want to counteract it. They don't want to fix it. They just want us to see that. And in my opinion, the best thing that could be done in that instance is to take the black children who are exposed to that education being limited. And it's probably a horrible, watered down version of it anyway. But I would take the kids and remove them from that completely and put them in a safe place. There's nothing wrong with black kids going to all black schools if it benefits them. And the United States government by law can't make us go to their schools. But by law, we fight to get into their schools. We need to stop. We need to be more safe and secure on our own. We can do it. And it's a part of being released physically was a part of our freedom. But we haven't realized true freedom. When you're being hung and lynched and discriminated against in this country the way we have been and are currently, there's absolutely no way you can think that this is freedom. If this is freedom, and you got to walk a day in another person's body in the United States who does not look like you, you would see. And I don't mean only white people. I mean, there are other races of people in this country other than white people who live good lives and who aren't bothered and have insulated themselves through economics so that they don't have to rely on the government. And if the government does go through a bad time or a time where they seem to be not supporting that particular group, they have enough capital of their own to push through and not be so heavily reliant upon the government. And when you are, it's in a transactional way because they're going to give you something that's going to build your community up, and not just to be helpful and beholden to them for no reason. Like us, we're helpful to the Democrats for no reason. They never produce anything for us except that we fight. And all the crying and whining that's going on about 1 month of Donald Trump. And when Kamala was campaigning, not a word about doing anything for black people. I said, we're good. Hey, they're good. Don't worry about it. If I get elected, we're moving forward. We're going to include everybody. Remember all that talk? And now we worried about, oh, look at black. No, you wasn't worried about it when Kamala was about to disregard us. No one was worried about it when Kamala said out of her mouth, we are not going back. We're going full steam ahead forward, and everybody is included. Illegals, LGBT, black, and everything else under the rainbow. And that's just a terrible thing for us to have to be, you know, done the way we have been since our time in this country. And the mental part of it is the part that's the hardest to break. And most people don't believe it, and it's very difficult to accept. But if we could break that mental part, we could be in a whole nother place because we feel that we need to have contact and interaction with our oppressors, and we don't. If we could break that jonesing for the oppressor, that if we could just break that and break free of that, man, please. Well, there's no limit to what we could do because they would see that the contracts that we make, why would you perfect something in your parents' garage or basement? And I mean, to the point of where people would pay upwards of millions and millions and billions even of dollars for that. Your music, your movie, your poetry, your whatever you make, it's a gift, and the amount that's placed on it is appropriate, but the part that we get is not appropriate. You should not be getting a lesser percentage of your own work, and if you do, it should be because those dollars are being recycled. Through a network. Recycled through a network that makes sense and that benefits your community, and where the money gets bigger and bigger and bigger and not touch the ground and it's outside of your community and it's in some other community being recycled. We got to get that. That's not rocket science.
After whether it's just the FBI agents who investigated January 6th and then see what they did wrong allegedly, or to go after people like Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, Jack Smith, all of those investigations against Donald Trump. The Department of Justice is usually completely independent from the executive branch. At least there's no discussion of ongoing casework.
And that's a damn lie. That's why Eric Adams was indicted in the first place, because it ain't independent. Because shit do happen like that. Anybody who believes that if Eric Adams had been getting in front of microphones and talking about what a wonderful idea it is to overburden his city with illegal immigrants, and that Joe Biden is the best thing since sliced bread, he would have not been indicted. He got indicted because he criticized Biden.
Obviously, in this case with Mayor Adams, that's not the case. We've seen the Trump administration basically hang these charges over Mayor Adams, and morale is low because if they can do this with someone to get him to cooperate with their immigration policy.
They're not hanging. They told him point blank, we're dropping the charges. Now, are you willing to work with it? He said, yeah. That doesn't sound like a quid pro quo. It sounds like a dude who's like, fuck it, I'm gonna follow the law. It is not illegal to deport immigrants. It is not illegal to allow ICE to have access to them. That's not illegal. This news reporter and we collectively as Americans have been talking about this immigration issue like this shit is legal. It's illegal to be illegal. What part of that don't people get? How can you be a bad guy because you want to deport people? How can you be a bad guy because you want to follow the law? How can Eric Adams being indicted for talking shit about Biden be a good thing, but being released from indictment for following the law and helping to deport illegal immigrants is a bad thing? Up is down, down is up. If you really pay attention to what the Democrats are doing, they want us to buy into their beliefs and ideas, which is ignoring the Constitution. And more than what they're saying Trump's doing, I see Trump going closer to what the Constitution says than what the Democrats are doing. I mean, to me, allowing your country to be overrun by illegal immigrants, what if we just let illegal immigrants come in? Just come in. They just keep coming in. And then all of a sudden, we start having a bunch of terrorism attacks and we trace them back to the southern border. Well, gosh, these weren't even the right people from those countries. They were flying in over there and then, coming in as immigrants here and getting in. And then we have, terrorist activity as a result of that. Would the Democrats accept the responsibility for that? For flooding the country with folks because they are trying to suck up to the corporations that employ them. That's all it is. The jobs stop, the immigrant, you know how it go. And here we are, no matter what we say about the illegal immigrants, no matter what we say about none of that, it does not help our position because they already have us pegged. We good. They had us pegged from the late 60s, early 70s. They had us pegged because we ain't been given no opportunity since then. In fact, what the illusion of opportunity that we thought we had, the window closes and here and there. I mean, just think, for the civil rights movement basically to just come to a screeching halt in the late 60s, isn't it weird that by the 90s they were already attacking us and giving us the mass incarceration and locking back? I mean, they were on us like shit. You would have thought at some point in the history of this country there would have been a crusade just of goodwill to where the United States sets up institutions for black people exclusively, just to go and get their mind right, get educated, get mental health, get whatever you need so that your kids aren't suspended and kicked out of class because they talk too much or because they sock somebody or whatever is considered inappropriate in a classroom. It's addressed and dealt with love and with caring, and not with making him stand out in the hallway and not be privy to what's going on in that classroom and hurt him long term. I mean, that's the kind of shit we need, but we don't fight for that. The kids get suspended, black kids, way more than white kids do. It's white kids who are bullies. It's white kids who start fights and pick on kids, and it don't ruin their life. They grow up and become some kind of corporate leader, and their aggressiveness is channeled into something that works out for them. Black kids, you end up being a damn leader of a dormitory or some shit in a prison somewhere in the United States. Your leadership skills are better than that. That ain't what you should be leading.
And to work with them on these mass deportation efforts. Everyone and all these prosecutors will have to be careful about what cases they do going forward, but also what past.
Be careful about what cases you do. Follow the law. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. That's an immigration case. And I want illegal immigrants here, but the law tells me I have to deport them. I won't take that case. What kind of prosecutor would you be? Whose side are you on? You hear this shit right here? This is the fucking media that we got to put up with. This is why black people love MSNBC and CNN, and they pound this into our head. They do good commentary. They have intelligent pundits. All of that well-written stuff, the lighting, the desk, the mics. But look what they're pounding into our head. This bullshit. Prosecutors have to be more careful about what cases they take, because it might not meet their requirements, but it meets the constitutional requirements. So that's a conflict. Then you need to step down if you're a fucking prosecutor and you can't follow the law. If the law hurts you, like, oh no, I can't deport those people, that's just not right. Well, you don't have a problem discriminating against black people. You don't have a problem locking them up by the hundreds of the thousands. Your heart don't hurt then. It is racism in its purest form, and nobody want to admit it, not even us.
Cases given in exchange for potential political favor.
All right, Jake Rosen with that deep reporting analysis for us. Jake, thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
I tell you guys, we got an uphill battle. And the first thing we got to do is free ourselves. And once we're free, and nobody has the power to free us but us. And I know it seems, like once we were physically let go, that was it. It wasn't. And as we can see, this is something that has never occurred before in the history of the planet. There has been slaves, but each time there is slavery, there are different dynamics. This is different. We actually have moved into the place where we need to be and want to be recognized as just regular citizens. But every chance we get, we relinquish it back to the oppressor because that's what we're programmed to do. We don't know how to be independent of them. We don't know how to have something and not make sure that it facilitates an income or money or some type of control that they get to have over it. We don't know how to do it, obviously. And we just need to work on that really hard, you guys, and take our Black History Months and build on them. And don't keep reverting back to some of that stuff that they don't want us to know about anyway. We need to move forward from this point forward. We are standing on the shoulders of very strong folks who got us this far. We still breathing. If they had it their way, you don't go lynching and cutting and killing people the way they were back in those days and not have the intent on eliminating them completely. And they didn't do it, and they cannot do it. But mentally, we are not in the game. We got to get in the game. We cannot be led by our oppressor. We cannot have them getting on TV and telling us that Trump is violating the Constitution, but it's okay to have sanctuary cities. That is like breaking away from the United States government. That's like secession. You don't want to follow that law. So your town, your city, it's okay for you to break the law and house and hide immigrants from the federal government. Absolutely not. Can you imagine back when slavery was legal? The cities had to turn over to slaves. They're nicer to the illegal immigrants than they were to us. They'd open their cells up and let them in, and pull them out, lynch them, pull them out, do whatever you wanted to do to them, but go ahead and take them. But there's protection for these folks. And ICE is even being respectful of it and saying, please let us come into your jails. Please allow us to. Nah, it shouldn't be like that. Because it wasn't like that for us. That's all I'm saying. But because there is such a contrast, black people, this is a wonderful opportunity for us to draw it and understand where we stand and quit arguing and being mad because everybody don't agree with you. Because they're getting a different spin from the same news story. They're just getting a different spin. It's the same news stories. They're not distorting the facts so much. Some of the words have a little propaganda in there, trying to twist the way you think. But the bottom line is they are giving you the facts. And we just have to know the difference between a fact and propaganda. A fact and somebody trying to persuade you into something. But if somebody is telling you that following the law and following the Constitution is harboring illegal immigrants in a sanctuary city, they're lying. And they can't have no ground to stand on to stand there and say that Trump is a violator of the Constitution and he's trying to take us back to whatever. I don't know. Maybe we do need to go back. Maybe we need to go back to a time when the lines were drawn more clearly and proceed from there. Because I can't understand why we, after the violence that went on in the 60s, we could be lulled back to sleep like this. Like to want to be so close to people who have committed such atrocities to us from the time we arrived. I mean, in every way, we don't even look the same. I mean, that's some shit right there. But they treat us the same. It didn't like we blended in with them physically and through having children to the point of where they start looking at us different. They still don't. It's the same shit. So there's nothing that we can do but fight harder and fight harder to be closer together and to trust other black folks so that we can build together. Get someone who you know and start doing something with them. Another black guy. Be like, hey man, you got a job, you got a job. Put a little bit of money into something and you guys might be able to both quit working. I mean, and then those are the small things that we can do. That's more important than all the billionaires we got, because our billionaires and multimillionaires aren't doing anything for us. They act like they're a separate race. I don't know. Happy Black History Month. Like, comment, share, and please subscribe.